Hey everyone, I'm Trevor, and today we are at Disney California Adventure to bring you our ultimate ride guide for 2025. So let's get going.
We're going to begin on Sunset Boulevard right at the front of the park, and this year we're including attractions, not just rides. Off to the right is the Disney Junior Dance Party. This is a show aimed at little kids, and we haven't done it in a long while, so I don't have any footage. However, here's their current daily performance schedule as of the time of this filming. Across the road and a little further down is Mickey's Philharmagic. This is a 3D show that requires 3D glasses and is an excellent way to get off your feet and get out of the heat. It's 12 straight minutes of wonderful Disney music and surround sound. I could stay here all day. Unlike Walt Disney World's Mickey's Philharmagic, ours is never full, and you'll always be able to get in on the next show. While you wait, there's a huge open area for the kids to play or run around. At least until it starts to fill up a bit. Back out on Sunset Boulevard and on the other side of the road is the Disney Animation Building. This is home to 4 different attractions and is quite possibly the best place in the park for a break on hot days. You can sit in here surrounded by beautiful artwork as relaxing Disney music is piped in on a constant loop. This is another place that I could stay all day. The first attraction you'll see is the Animation Academy. This is where you'll learn to draw your favorite Disney characters at the instruction of a resident artist. Out in front of the entrance is a schedule of all the characters and times for that particular day. If you wanted to, you could just keep going back through as many times as you like drawing different characters all day. They provide the paper, pencil, and drawing board, and the presentation lasts about 15 minutes. Now, I don't typically include characters in these ride guides, but since this is a fixed location with fixed characters, I thought I'd mention it. Here you'll meet either Anna, Elsa, Olaf, or a combination of these characters. We lucked out and met both Anna and Elsa, but this is not guaranteed. The wait for this is often long, so keep that in mind. Then we have the Sorcerer's Workshop, which is another drawing experience, but this one is self-guided. There are some animated displays to mess around with and experience some pre-designed animations. Or you can draw one yourself with the pen and paper provided. There's a template for you to follow if you're feeling creative. Then add it to the spinning wheel and watch your animation in action. Our final attraction here is Turtle Talk with Crush. This is an engaging experience that is different every time you go. Crush actually talks with the guests, asking questions of both children and adults alike. It's not just a Q&A, but is often injected with tons of off-the-cuff and ad-lib humor, making this an absolutely must-try experience. I've never been bored here. Just off of Sunset Boulevard is Hollywoodland, which is home to Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue. Similar to Winnie the Pooh at Disneyland, this ride is unique in that it has the Buddy Pass. Talk to the cast member at the ride entrance to obtain one. What is the Buddy Pass? It functions just like Single Rider but for 2 to 3 people and allows you to bypass the line by going in the exit. The longest I've ever waited for this was 15 minutes, but we routinely are on in under 5. This ride is a fun, whimsical ride with great quotes from the movie as it takes you through the major scenes of the film. Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue has no height requirement and is featured on the Lightning Lane multi-pass service. At the end, you'll meet Roz, and sometimes there's a cast member operating her, interacting with the guests. It is such a fun treat. That's it for that land, and we begin to make our way to Avengers Campus through the back entrance. Here I ran across the red car trolley, which goes up Sunset Boulevard to the entrance of the park. This attraction closes permanently on February 9th, 2025 to make way for the Avengers Campus expansion project. One of the most popular rides in the park is Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. This attraction was rethemed from Tower of Terror in 2017, and I absolutely love what they did with it. The original Tower of Terror was great and all, and I'm glad they still have this one in Orlando if I want to ride it. But I wish they would do this with more rides that are similar on both coasts, to provide an incentive to go to both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Like, keep soaring over California here permanently, maybe? But we'll get to that later. The collector, Tanelier Tavon, has captured the Guardians of the Galaxy and is putting them on display. Rocket has escaped to free his friends, but he needs your help. This is the same Tower of Terror ride you know, but it features one of 6 Guardians of the Galaxy 80s music tracks selected at random. It also randomizes the dropping sequence, so you never really know what to expect from ride to ride. One major difference is that the ride vehicle bounces at the movie screens, and my wife hates this, though I love it. So keep that in mind. Guardians of the Galaxy pulls you faster than gravity to simulate the ultimate drop experience. This attraction has a 40-inch height requirement and is on the Lightning Lane multi-pass service. From this point forward, we'll indicate these rides by the LLMP logo on your screen. The only other ride currently in Avengers Campus is Web Slingers: A Spider-Man Adventure. This is a video game style ride that uses your arms to sling webs like Spider-Man. You'll go through a brief pre-show with one of my absolute favorite lines in all of the pre-shows at Disneyland.
They seem to be stuck in self-replication mode. If you could just handle that for me, please.
On it. Contacting Mr. Stark.
Don't call Mr. Stark! Don't call Mr. Stark. Sorry for shouting. Could you just call someone else, ask them to do it?
From there, you'll be taken to your Slinger vehicle, which fits up to 4 people. 3D glasses are required, but my wife doesn't ever get motion sick on this ride. You'll go through several different scenes, aiming at a variety of colored spider bots, all worth a different amount of points. Don't ask me how to play this one. My wife beats me every time, and I've still not figured it out. At the end, you'll receive an individual score as well as a group score. See if you can improve between ride-throughs. Web Slingers has no height requirement and is our first ride at Disney California Adventure with a single rider line. In August of 2024, at the D23 Ultimate Fan Event, it was announced that Avengers Campus will be undergoing a hefty expansion project. I don't know all the details, but we do know that 2 attractions are coming. First is Avengers Infinity Defense, which is going to be the premier attraction and a top e-ticket ride for sure. And the second attraction is Stark Flight Lab, which is a simulator attraction. I don't know when these projects will be completed, but it won't be 2025. I'm just sharing the news in case you haven't heard.
If you are enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help out the channel. And if you want to save money on your next Disneyland vacation, call my friends at Getaway today and tell them that SoCal Disney Dad sent you. Or click the link down in the description and use my coupon code to save on their already discounted packages.
Leaving Avengers Campus behind, we move over into Cars Land. And first up, we come across Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, which has a height requirement of 32 inches. This is a whip-style attraction where you hop aboard your own tractor and dance around, all while Mater serenades you with hoedown music over the loudspeaker. It's a relatively high-capacity ride since there are 2 sides and the line moves quite quickly. During the Halloween season, this ride is rethemed to Mater's Graveyard Jamboree, and at Christmas it's Mater's Jingle Jamboree. The ride is the exact same experience, only the audio changes, so this ride does not close to make these changes. A little further along, we have Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters. This is very similar to Mater's in that you'll hop aboard a car and dance to the music. This time, Luigi is singing, and your ride vehicles are trackless and choreographed to Italian music. It even has the same height requirement of 32 inches. This one always has a bit longer of a line, and it feels like it moves slower. The trackless system is also prone to breaking down a lot. Similar to Mater's at Halloween, this is rethemed to Luigi's Honkin' Halloween, and at Christmas it's Luigi's Joy to the Whirl. Also, just like Mater's, the only thing that really changes is the audio. But the premier attraction in Cars Land, and actually the entire park, is Radiator Springs Racers. Some would even say it's the best ride in both parks. This attraction has a height requirement of 40 inches and is similar to Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland in that it is the only Lightning Lane attraction at DCA not available on MultiPass, and instead requires the a la carte purchase of Lightning Lane Single Pass. The wait here is routinely over an hour, and my preferred way to ride is actually through the single rider line. Your party will be split up, and so the minimum age to use single rider is 7 years old. Oftentimes you might end up in the same car together, or opposite cars racing one another. The ride starts out with a peaceful drive through Carburetor Canyon before heading to Radiator Springs to get ready for race day. After being helped by either Ramon or Luigi, you'll head to the starting line for the most glorious race of your lives. The race portion has a top speed of 40 miles an hour and is the best part of the whole ride. Next to Cars Land is San Fransokyo Square, which is a dining location mostly, but it also is home to the Boudin Bakery Tour. Inside, you'll get a free sourdough bread sample and be able to watch them make the bread they use here in the park from start to finish. It's worth coming into if for no other reason than the bread sample alone, but it's also quite fun to watch. Moving along, we come to Pixar Pier, and the first ride you'll come across is the Incredicoaster. This is the largest and longest roller coaster in both parks and has a height requirement of 48 inches to match. Once a child is tall enough for Incredicoaster, they can ride everything at Disneyland. This ride does have a single rider line, but it moves quite slow, and I don't recommend it. Even if the standby looks long, it moves pretty quickly, and we don't mind waiting for it. The Incredicoaster features a 55-mile-an-hour launch, has a ride time of 2.5 minutes, making it one of the longest roller coasters in the US, and is the only ride at Disneyland with an inversion. Right next to that is Jesse's Critter Carousel. This little carousel is among the least popular rides in the park and rarely has more than a 5-minute wait. We used to ride it quite a lot when my youngest wasn't tall enough for Incredicoaster. One of us would take our oldest on Incredicoaster while the other would take our youngest on Jesse's Critter Carousel. We haven't ridden the carousel since my youngest became tall enough to ride Incredicoaster himself. If you're looking for something to ride when the rest of the park is slammed, this ride will almost always guarantee a walk-on. A little further down is Toy Story Midway Mania. This is among one of the most popular rides in the park. I recommend riding it early in the morning to avoid long standby waits, or if you purchased Lightning Lane, be mindful that it is one of the first to run out for the day. Similar to Web Slingers, this is a video game style attraction, but you aren't swinging your arms this time. Instead, there's a pull cord on the blaster mounted to the ride vehicle. This ride does require 3D glasses, but is not particularly nausea-inducing as my wife has never had trouble with this ride. You'll go through several different Midway games along the way. There's an egg toss game, a dino darts game, a plate breaking game, ring toss, and another dart game that's Sheriff Woody themed. You'll get a score for each game that will be totaled at the end. This ride has no height requirement and is a fun one for the whole family. Speaking of Midway games, Pixar Pier has 4 actual real games that you can play for prizes. Each game costs a token, and each token costs $5. So these games aren't cheap, and the prizes aren't really all that special. In fact, I think I prefer the token to the stuffed animals. The first game is La Luna Starcatcher, which is a duck pond type game with a winner every time. Then there's Wally's Space Race, which is your standard water gun game. The more people playing, the bigger the prize, but there can only be one winner. Next is Heimlich's Candy Corn Toss, which is the hardest game of the lot in my opinion. Here's what you can win. And the final game is Bullseye Stallion Stampede, which is one of those skee-ball type games that advances your horse based on which hole you get it in. This is my favorite game of the 4. Once again, the more players you have, the bigger the prizes. The next ride we come across is the Pixar Pal-Around, which is affectionately called Mickey's Death Wheel thanks to the unique feature of this ride, swinging gondolas. There are non-swinging gondolas as well, but the swinging is the best part of the ride, otherwise it's just a standard Ferris wheel. Surprisingly, there is no height requirement for this ride, even for the swinging gondolas. Hop aboard if you dare. The last ride in Pixar Pier is Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. This is a fairly standard spinning type ride. There's nothing special here. You'll go high into the air and spin to Inside Out music. This attraction has no height requirement. The next area of DCA is called Paradise Gardens Park, and our first ride is the Silly Symphony Swings. Guests must be 40 inches to ride in a tandem swing or 48 inches to ride alone. There is almost never a wait for this ride, and you can perhaps see why. This one always makes me feel a little sick. My kids love it though, and my wife doesn't seem bothered by it, but I usually sit it out when I can. The next ride is Goofy's Sky School. This is a pretty popular ride that often gets long waits. It has a 42-inch height requirement and is a standard Wild Mouse attraction with Goofy theming. The ride vehicle is particularly tiny and hard to get into, and the ride itself is quite jerky, slamming you back and forth frequently. Goofy's Sky School does have a single rider line, and there's almost no one ever using it, so it's an excellent consideration to skip an often 40+ minute wait. Right next to that is Jumpin' Jellyfish. This is an introductory level drop ride if Guardians of the Galaxy is just too much for you or any little ones in your party. Jumpin' Jellyfish has a height requirement of 40 inches, given that it still goes quite high into the air. The drops are very gentle and tame though. Jumpin' Jellyfish has a height requirement of 40 inches, given that it still goes quite high into the air. The drops are just very gentle and tame. It's all around good fun, even if you're not a thrill seeker. Another ride that almost never has a wait is the Golden Zephyr. This is similar to a lot of other spinning type rides we've seen on this list. There's no music while you ride, nor are there particularly any unique features worth noting. The Golden Zephyr has no height requirement, but children must be able to sit without assistance. And the final ride in Paradise Gardens Park is the Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure. This ride has no height requirement and features an Omni-Mover system, meaning that the ride vehicle doesn't stop as you board or exit. Because of this, the line is almost always constantly moving, and it never feels too long of a wait. It's a slow-moving dark ride that takes you through the story of the Little Mermaid, accompanied by all the best music tracks from the movie. The ride lasts approximately 7 minutes and is an excellent option for getting out of the heat in the summer. The last land at Disney California Adventure is the Grizzly Peak Recreation Area. You'll see Grizzly River Run as you enter, but the first attraction you'll come across on the walking path is actually the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail. Here you'll find nets to climb, wobbly bridges, a children's rock climbing wall, slides, and more. But my kids' favorite thing to do here is Sequoia Smoke Jumpers, which is a flying fox attraction. Guests must be 12 years old or younger and between 42 and 63 inches to ride. Our second to last ride in the park is Grizzly River Run. This is a water raft ride that has the potential to get you quite wet. Everyone will get a little bit wet, but the people who have the potential to get drenched are those who happen to be facing the bottom of the ride's 2 drops. Tiana's Bayou adventure over at Disneyland got me far more wet than my last couple of ride-throughs on Grizzly though. Depending on the time of year, this ride will either have a really long line or no line at all. It has a 42-inch height requirement and does feature a single rider line. And while I have used it before, this is one of those rides that's best experienced as a group, and I wouldn't recommend single rider unless you're traveling alone. There are free lockers available by the ride's exit for you to store your belongings that can't get wet. And the final ride in our guide is Soarin' Around the World. This is an IMAX attraction that lifts you high into the air and simulates a journey around the world. Every year for Food and Wine Festival in March and April, Soarin' Around the World returns to its original form, Soarin' Over California. And while the movie is perhaps a bit dated compared to Soarin' Around the World, I find it and the musical score to be the superior version of the ride. Many people, myself included, wish they'd leave it as Soarin' Over California here in California and Soarin' Around the World at Epcot, which is more focused on the different countries of the world. Soarin' has a height requirement of 40 inches, and while it does have a single rider line, the cast members have warned me that the wait could be longer than the standby itself.
And that's it for our time here today at Disney California Adventure, bringing you an ultimate ride guide for 2025. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. Got questions? Drop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them. Click this video to check out the Disneyland ride guide. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.